Welcome to this week's episode of Healthy-ish with Nutrishmish. And if you saw the title of this week's episode, you're probably a little confused, a little intrigued. It is, you don't have a weight loss problem, and that's the problem. Bear with me for a second on this. So, I've helped thousands of people. My company, Nutrishmish, has helped, I think we're nearing 11,000 people in the past 10 years. And look, how accurate the stat is, I'm not sure. But the stat that keeps getting published is that 95% of people who try to lose weight on a commercialized diet program will gain the weight back within a year. So only 5% of people who lose weight on any given commercialized diet program will actually keep the weight off. 95% will gain it back. Well, when we kind of survey our clients, our stat, and I suspect it would be higher if more people answered my survey. So if you've gotten my survey, please answer it. But I suspect it would be higher, but our stat is 80%. And when you do this for a living and you're kind of like obsess about it and think about it, you can kind of like find a number of reasons why that's true. But if you try to like boil it down to like the most common reason, it's because we solve for a problem that has nothing to do with weight. We get down to the actual problem. And what I want you guys to get out of this episode is I want you guys to have an aha moment about why maybe you haven't had long-term success with your weight loss journey. And I also want to go over with you how to identify where your actual problem is and how to put energy into that. Because if you can do those two things, the reason that I got into nutrition and the reason that I got into weight loss specifically is it's such a freaking pain point for people. And like I have people who come to see me and they're like, I could teach nutrition. Like, I know everything. And like they do. It's not a lack of knowledge, right? It's other things, which we're going to get into in a second. But this is such a pain point for people, right? People put so much energy into this, their whole freaking lives. And like my mission in life is to rid as many people as I can of this burden. So this podcast will hopefully reach the masses and hopefully will help you guys think about weight loss a little bit differently and help you solve for the right problems so that you guys could put energy like into something else. Because let's be honest, if we put the same amount of energy that we did into anything else that we put into like our weight or losing weight or dieting or food, like we could probably like take over the world. We could probably solve a lot of crises. We could probably like do a lot of amazing superhero things. So let's kind of like figure this out and put it to bed so that way we could take that energy and like take over the world and do something else. So to illustrate my point here, I am going to compare this to something totally not nutrition or weight loss related. So let's say you have a kid and the kid is in school, or let's say it's you and you're in school and you're getting not so great grades. Let's say you're getting D's and F's and C's and like you're just not doing well, right? I don't think a lot of people talk about it in terms of you have a grade problem, right? They're not like, oh, you have a grade problem. And in order to solve this grade problem, let's do anything and everything just to get that grade up. Because if that's the only objective, let's just do that. So you can learn the information, but other acceptable ways are you can cheat, which might be a little bit more efficient if you can cheat on your test to get a better grade. We could blackmail your teacher. We can dig up some dirt online, go through their like old Facebook photos and like find them doing like a keg stand, back when they were in college and hold that against them for ransom and, get a good grade that way. You can maybe just like guess, like maybe I'll teach you like how to guess really well on tests. Like that would just solve for like, and that like, and all those things might be effective to an extent to get better grades. And to be fair, some of them might be even more effective in getting a good grade than learning the information. Like if you have like a way to cheat on a test, technically if your only goal is to get a better grade, like that might be quicker and more efficient than actually learning the information. So we talk about like school problems. We don't talk about them in terms of like you have a grade problem. We say, oh, you didn't understand the information. You didn't understand the information, and that is reflected in the grade. The grade is a symptom of whether or not you understood the information. So if you understood the information, you're going to get a grade that reflects that, an A or a B or whatever. And if you did not understand the information, you're going to get a grade that reflects that, which could be a D, an F, a C, whatever. So if we're looking at it like that, there is a big difference between somebody who's just trying to like manipulate their grades, right? They don't care about learning the information. They're just like trying to get the A. So, they might cheat or do whatever. And obviously I'm not suggesting you do any of these things. I'm just trying to illustrate a point. There's a difference between that person and the person who's using grades as a reflection of their understanding of the information. And if you're just trying to manipulate your grades, you're really missing the entire point of school. And it's not going to be something that kind of serves you long term. Now, bringing it back to weight, there's a really big difference between somebody who's just trying to manipulate their weight, right, just to see a number, versus somebody who's using their weight to be a reflection of their eating habits. So there are two ways to kind of tell if you're somebody who is struggling so much because you're just really trying to manipulate your weight versus actually finding and solving for the problem. And I'm going to go over what the two things are in a second. But if you're listening to this and you're like, holy shit, oh my God, this is me, and you feel bad about it, don't. This has been presented to you this way, and I'm trying to like change the way that you think about it. But you have to remember that the weight loss industry is a $6 billion industry, and everybody wants to get in your pocket. And guess what? If you lost the weight and actually kept it off, like, guess what? Like they would lose you as a customer, right? So, but I mean, like, again, we have to just demand more from the industry in general, because think about it this way, like, if you're gonna, let's just say like face cream, right? Like I have a lot of product, right? And like none of them are cheap, right? I'm sure ladies listening can attest to this. But let's say you bought like this cream, right? And this cream was supposed to like manage your wrinkles and like keep you feeling youthful and increase your collagen production and all these things, making all these great claims, but it only has a 5% chance of working. And let's say you're paying $50, $100, $1,000 for this product, but only has a 5% chance of working. Like, that's freaking crazy. But that's what we do with the diet industry. We need to be kind of like woken up to these facts, because we give them thousands and thousands and thousands of our dollars to only work 5% of the time. Like, no, thank you. So my point is that don't feel bad if this is you. This is the majority of people. If this is not you, congratulations. You are an elevated person. Like you get it, you know? But for the rest of us, this is something that needs to be brought to our attention. So 2 ways to kind of tell if you are manipulating your weight, and we got to kind of change it to figure out what the real problem is, which we'll get to that in a minute. The first one is obsessing over the scale. So you don't care even like as much of what you look like, rather than just like seeing a number almost. So like if you see, I'm just going to make up numbers. Let's say you see a 151 versus a 150 day to day, like that's going to mess with your head. Or you're somebody who's like taking your studs out, or you weigh yourself in this corner and in that corner. And your weight just like really affects your mood for the day. Even if you ate well, like let's just say you ate well and you got on the scale and the scale didn't necessarily reflect that, you like get upset. You don't rationalize it like, all right, you know, I'll get back on tomorrow. Like you get upset about it. So if you are obsessing over the scale, if that number, like if you live and die by that number, if that number affects you, that's like the first red flag that you've been taught to manipulate your weight. You haven't been taught to actually fix the problem that your weight is attributed to. And before we get into the second reason, this week's episode of Healthy-ish with Nutrishmish is brought to you by Nutrishmish's signature program, Eat Right, Live Right. So guys, we're close to 11,000 people lose weight and keep it off. And I came up with this whole program because when I was in school 1,005 years ago, I remember asking my professors, I was so interested in all the nutrition stuff that we were learning. And I remember asking them like, okay, all this information is amazing, but like, how do we get people to actually do it? And I remember my professor looking at me at the time and being like, well, that's not your job. Your job is just to like tell them what to do. And I can't tell you how many people like even like know what to eat, but they just can't do it consistently. So not only do we help you figure out a way to eat for you, and we take all the confusion out of nutrition, we really show you how to do it and how to implement it in your life. And we make the whole process feel good. We say by the time that you are done with us, eating well will come just as naturally to you as showering and brushing your teeth. It won't be something that you have to put any energy into. It will just come so naturally. And we've done it with so many people. And now that we have our virtual program set up, we've been helping people all over the country, and we are so excited to be able to offer this to everybody. So click the link in our bio. It's all one-on-one. You'll have access to like our app, our community, blah, 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 like all the fun stuff. But like the most important thing is really like learning how to eat in a way that's not confusing, that feels good. It's a way that you could do it forever. And we have this whole system to figure out how to customize it for you. So click on the link below, Nutrishmish's signature Eat Right, Live Right program. Be the next one of our success stories. The second sign that you are weight manipulating and not solving for the right problem is that you're doing it in a way that's either not healthy or not sustainable, right? So if you are doing something obviously not healthy, like let's say you're starving yourself or something to see the number on the scale, not good. Weight loss and health are not always synonymous. I want to be really, really clear about that. But more importantly, like it's also like maybe in a way that's not sustainable. So yes, if you cut out carbs, will you lose weight? Of course. If you buy prepackaged meals, will you lose weight? Of course. If you subscribe to the program that your friend's now like a coach on, and you're eating like their meals and whatever, like Will all that stuff work? Absolutely, it will work if you're just trying to manipulate your weight. The problem is we all know how this story ends, right? We've all seen Titanic. We know Jack is going to die. We all know that if you go on these programs, unless you're of that 5%, 95% of you will gain the weight back. So you're doing it in a way that's not sustainable. So however you choose to, lose weight, you want to really think about like, okay, is this a way that I could do forever? So if you're doing it by cutting out carbs, if you're doing it by, not going out to eat or not drinking, if you like to drink, or you're doing like prepackaged meals, or you're like counting all of these things that you're not going to want to do for the rest of your life, then you're very most likely manipulating your weight, because what's going to end up happening is whatever method is effective. Like, I think all diets are effective as terms of like weight loss goes. They're not effective in the terms where like they're actually fixing the problem that caused your weight to get high in the first place, right? So we're not solving for the right problem. We're just doing things to manipulate your weight to get it down. But then the second that you stop doing whatever that thing is, either because you can't afford it anymore, or you just can't stand the food anymore, or like because you want to go out to dinner and like eat a burrito or something, like, or you want to have a drink, the second that you stop all of those things, you're going to gain all the weight back. So it's a Band-Aid, right? And we all know this, but the problem is we keep going back to it because we think it's us, right? We think, oh, well, I didn't have enough willpower. Like, willpower is not a real thing. I can't take credit for this. I heard it on someone else's podcast, but I thought it was really smart. They said, willpower is like lighter fluid. It burns up really quick and then you don't have anything, right? You still don't have if all you have is lighter fluid, you don't really have a fire. So it burns up really fast and then that's it. Willpower is not a thing, right? If you have to white knuckle your way through this process, it's not going to be something that's effective long term. So those are the two signs that you're manipulating your weight. So one or both of those things. So if you're like obsessing, living and dying over the number on the scale, and or if you are trying to lose weight in a way that you will not be able to sustain for the rest of your life. So hopefully you're kind of putting the pieces together at this point that diets don't improve your eating habits, right? Your weight is what it is. Your weight's pretty much, with the exception of like a medical condition, it's a direct reflection of your eating habits. And diets aren't teaching you to improve your eating habits. Diets are teaching you to manipulate your weight. So hopefully you're starting to see this. Now, going back to grades, right? If someone is getting poor grades, right, grades are just a barometer for somebody's understanding of the information. So if somebody doesn't get a good grade, all that means is that they didn't get it. So now what do? How do we actually solve for the problem? We don't cheat. We don't bribe your teacher. We don't blackmail your teacher. We need to switch up to really solve the problem. How you learn the information, because that was the problem. So you can change up the way you study. You can get a tutor. You can have somebody help you. You can, go on YouTube and learn stuff. Like, there's a million ways where you can kind of like start to learn things in a different way where it starts to click for you. And then next time you take the test, you're going to get a better grade because you understand it now. And the grade is just a reflection of you solving the problem, that now I understand the information. So now, how do we know what your actual problem is in relation to your weight? So there's kind of like three categories that you might fall into. And if you're struggling kind of figuring out which one you fall into, or you're not quite sure, or you kind of know the category, but like what's like the deeper rooted issue, I highly recommend like working with a professional, right? Like, of course I would want you to come to Nutrishmish because we're like experts in this. But look, if my sink is broken, I'm not going to try to do it myself. I'm going to call a plumber, right? So if this is something that you're struggling with, like, work with a professional and have them help you. Ideally us, but whoever, as long as you're getting the help that you need. If this is something that you're having trouble figuring out yourself, like, get help. But there's three kind of categories. So the most obvious one is you just don't know the right way to eat for yourself, right? Like, you might be thinking like, oh, I'm making all these good changes, but my weight's not really like moving. And again, if we're using the scale as a barometer for that, then we're like, all right, well, whatever you're doing isn't really solving for that problem. So you're not eating, however you're eating right now, it's not enough to kind of like make the scale move. So, for example, I had somebody come to me once who had just tried, not going to say the name of the program, but it was the most popular calorie counting program out there, right? And we were talking, and she's just like, oh my God, I was sticking to my points, calories, whatever, every single day, and nothing was happening. So when we kind of like talked about it, and I talked to her for a little while, we figured out that because for her, the amount that she was eating, which is all that program addresses, that wasn't really her issue. Her issue is more based around the quality of her food as well as like the structure of her meals. So for her, we weren't going to spend a ton of time with, calories or whatever, because that wasn't her problem. But when she was putting all of her energy basically into solving for the wrong problem. Her problem had absolutely nothing to do with how much she was eating. It had a lot to do with the quality of her food as well as the structure. So once we addressed that problem, then the weight started to come off. Now, again, we weren't trying to manipulate her weight. When the weight started coming down, that was a green flag to me that, okay, whatever we're doing, this is the right thing. And if somebody's on their weight loss journey and they're doing it and then it stops, a plateau doesn't mean that you can't lose any more weight. A plateau just means that there's a new problem to solve for that you haven't addressed yet. The first problem is that you're just not eating in a way that's going to create weight loss. Like whatever you're doing right now is not an improvement off of what your body's used to. So it's kind of like a lack of knowledge, let's call it. The second one is execution. So for example, like you kind of maybe know what you should be doing, but you can't do it consistently because now you want to make sure that it's not because of restriction. You want to make sure that you can't execute consistently because it feels like restrictive or doesn't quite fit in with your lifestyle. I'm talking about like you're eating every single meal out because you don't know how to cook or you don't want to cook, which I'm an expert at getting people to do this. I call it assembling, not cooking. I will show you how to like assemble any meal very quickly because I'm not a cook myself. But it's something like that. Or it's maybe like, you know, you are really diligent about it like a couple days a week, but then a couple days a week you fall off. Or the second that something happens in your life, you stop paying attention to it and you're just not consistent because you're not able to execute consistently. Or, you know, I've worked with people who, you know, because of their job, they had to go out for a lot of meals, you know, they didn't have a good system in place to make sure that there was food in the house. So while they wanted it, they didn't have a system to make sure that there was good food in the house. They didn't have a system to prepare food for themselves, and they were relying a lot on like out stuff and kind of like not able to execute eating healthier consistently because of those things. So the first problem you have is again, we'll call it like lack of knowledge. So like you're just not addressing the right problems, or you're not like doing the right thing for yourself to like make your eating habits an improvement so your weight's not responding to it. The second problem could be execution. So like, you know, you just can't execute consistently because of your schedule, or let's say you have like, you know, kids and you're making a million different dinners and it's just something where you can't execute consistently. The third problem, and it's probably one of the more common ones that people don't even think about or address, is your mindset and your relationship with food. If you have a poor relationship with food because you've been dieting your whole life or because weight has been such a stressor for you your whole life, you know exactly what you quote unquote should be doing. You even know how to execute consistently, but your mindset and the way that it makes you feel makes it seem almost impossible to do all the time. So somebody who has a mindset issue might be very like all or nothing in their eating habits. They're definitely somebody that's going to obsess over the scale. There's a lot of negative self-talk in your head around food. You make yourself feel guilty. You define eating well as like no indulgences and eating perfectly, and the second that you deviate from that, like you deviate hard, and then you make yourself feel bad about that. And until you improve your relationship with food, it is very difficult to make long-term progress because you're always like in and out, because you know you're giving 100, then you're taking 100, so you're always left with 0. So what's nice about having the mindset issue is like, first of all, it's got to be addressed. I've never seen somebody that had a mindset issue not be successful long-term until they addressed it. And you've seen a million people with mindset issues who have addressed it, and this is like a lifelong struggle for them, and then all of a sudden like they have this handled. And what's interesting is the mindset one takes a little bit longer to fix, but then once it's fixed, you already know the other pieces of the puzzle. You already know what you should be doing, and you already like have the tools in place to be able to execute consistently. It's just a matter of like, you make yourself feel so bad about it, and your expectations around how weight loss works are so skewed that like it's impossible to do it consistently. So for most people, their actual problem has nothing to do with weight. It's either that you're not eating the right way for yourself. So once we figure out the right way to eat for yourself and make it a little bit better than your body is used to, all of a sudden that will be reflected in your weight. Or maybe you know the right thing to do, but because you don't know how to cook, or you don't like to cook, or you feel like you're a short order cook for your family, or you know you have a difficult time focusing on this the second that life gets stressful, which it does sometimes, like that would be, so once we kind of teach you how to execute under those circumstances, or make life a little bit easier for you, or you know get your feet wet with assembling some of your own foods, or even like give you like some easy, quick, like frozen foods, but like that are healthier for you. Once we get the execution piece in place, then all of a sudden your weight goes down because we're solving for the right problem. Same thing with the mindset thing. Once you change your relationship with food and you improve your relationship with food and you find a way that works for you, that feels good, where you're not beating yourself up and you can work in the things that you like, all of a sudden that is reflected in your weight. So again, just to reiterate, nobody has a weight problem. And when you treat a weight problem like a weight problem, you will struggle your entire life, because then you're just manipulating it, which never addresses the actual issue. Weight is very much so a symptom, not a problem itself. And when we're micromanaging the symptom, the problem never goes away. Another interesting kind of analogy is like weight is just a number, right? So let's kind of like compare it to another number. Let's just say blood pressure, right? So let's say I go to the doctor and the doctor's like, hey, your blood pressure is 140 over 100. Now, first of all, if you have no knowledge of blood pressure, like you're not going to have an emotional reaction to that number. But if the doctor's like, hey, your weight's 160 pounds, like you might have an emotional reaction to that number. I just chose a random number, but you get what I'm saying. So that blood pressure reading would be high. So your doctor isn't going to say, watch your blood pressure. You're not going to sit there with a blood pressure cuff on you every single day. Your doctor is going to say to you, change your eating habits, right? Which is what a doctor should say in the first place with all of this stuff. Change your eating habits. Even if you don't know, right, the right thing to change, like focus on that. Don't focus on getting the weight down. Focus on your eating habits, right? And if you focus on your eating habits with your blood pressure and you do the right things and you get the right guidance, when you go back to the doctor, having not checked your blood pressure for maybe since the last time you've been there, maybe 3 or 4 months, you'll notice that number just kind of naturally came down. You weren't obsessing about it. You had your energy focused on the right thing. You made the right changes. They were sustainable, and your blood pressure went down. Weight is the exact same thing. The only difference is instead of being told to change our eating habits, we're told, well, change your weight. And the ways that we're taught to change our weight are manipulating our weight. They're not actually fixing the problem that caused our weight to be high in the first place. So I hope this episode has helped you think a little bit differently about how you approach weight loss and maybe helps take some of the guilt or whatever associated with that about if this is something that you've struggled with for a long time. So if you approach it from this place of let me try to fix the problem rather than let me just try to manipulate my weight, you're going to be, it's going to be a much more pleasant experience, but you're going to be a lot more successful long term. So I hope this helped. Like I said, if you're listening to this and you're like, that's me, but I don't quite know where to start, give us a call. All of our information is in the show notes. You can call, text, email, carrier pigeon, go to our website, whatever. But like I said, if you do need the extra help, work with us or work with somebody, just because, you'll get there, but we'll help you, or a professional will help you get there a lot faster with a lot less road bumps. If you're not already, please make sure you like and subscribe and rate this podcast. It helps us be able to do them more and more frequently. I'm going to try to have a new one out for you guys next week. All right. Enjoy your week and let me know on social media if this episode helped.